So a big part of ABR Part 3 is to understand your equipment and just to be a very clinically viable medical physicist. Part of that is understanding the tools, why you use them, and understanding your clinic. So it's very important, and I think something people don't prepare enough for is they may ask you, what is your chamber that you use? What electrometer do you use? And you need to be able to say, I use PTW N30013. You need to know. By fumbling around or not knowing your equipment at your clinic, that really looks poorly on you as a clinical medical physicist and really makes the examiner kind of wonder, are you going through the motions? Do you understand what's happening? Do you know what you should use, when you should use it? And so it's important to cover those things because, yeah, everyone may know the typical pancake Geiger-Muller counter, but do you remember the model? That's where you really become proficient in medical physics. That's where you really excel in this exam. And ultimately, I really do think it's very beneficial as a medical physicist for you to know anyhow. So let's say, what chamber do you use for outputs and specs? So now I know this is my clinic. So this is obviously going to be different than yours. But as I mentioned, I use that N30013. It's waterproof. We've got a 0.6 cc chamber. Farmers don't need to be exactly 0.6 cc. Now, for absolute dosimetry for TG51, this is what we use for our chamber, our farmer chamber. So now we have, and this is getting a little into the weeds, but for my exam, I remembered it because you never know what they're going to ask. And if you roll off, oh, the leakage is 4e to the negative 14th amps, they're going to be like, oh, wow, you really know your ion chamber. And then our factor here for TG51, this is also good to know, just in general. It doesn't have to be exact. Ours, I looked it up, 5.3 e to the 7 gray per coulomb. So that gives you a good idea. That's probably all the numbers you need to know for it. So now, like, what electrometer do you use? So the CNMC is what we use, and it is model 206. And then we have 1 ferroamp of leakage for it. So do you use an edge detector, and why, and which one? So my clinic, we use the Sun nuclear edge detector. It is a 0.8 by 0.8 millimeter active area and a 0.5 millimeter depth equivalent. So the reason you'd want to use this is that there's less volume averaging, there is better resolution for small fields, correction factors. It uses 100 times more signal than a micro ion chamber. So it's a lot more sensitive, and it's absolutely fantastic for really small fields, say 3 by 3 or less, or specifically cones. We use this for our cones. It's wonderful. So now, what plane parallel do you use here? Put PTW N34045. And if you don't use a plane parallel, it's advantageous to look one up and have one kind of on tip of your tongue. It is 0.02 cc sensitive volume. It's vented, waterproof, 4 ferroamps of leakage. It's good for all field sizes greater than 3 by 3. And specifically, you're going to use this for high electron beam dosimetry. And then finally, what scanning chamber do you use? And here we use the PTW 31010. It is 0.125 cc. So note that it is smaller than our farmer chamber. It's waterproof, flexible, it's vented, again, for I just blanked, ferroamps, or I blanked, I'm sorry. But 3 by 3 to 40 by 40 field size is what you can use it on. And that is our scanning chamber. So another important thing to note too is when I took my exam, we had one electrometer that I don't remember which one it was. I could not remember the model number. Technically, the people don't know what you use. So if you look up the numbers and the serial numbers that you can remember easiest and remember those, although maybe not ideal, that's going to get you through the exam. I mean, CNMC Model 206 is pretty easy to remember. If you just remember that and say it, whether you use it or not, they're not going to know. I do at least suggest you really know your different chambers and things, but just a quick video to really drive home the point that you need to know your equipment and the specifications of the devices and equipment you use. If you got any comments or questions, please post below. Thanks for watching and happy studying.